Are you tired of feeling tired? Are you struggling with vitality? Or does your body just not feel great? Join today's hosts Monique Bradley and registered naturopath Lynette Hill to talk about your health. It's Health Bites, bite-sized pieces of health and wellness information so you can own your health. Well, good evening. I'm Monique Bradley here at the YourFixTV studios. Welcome to Health Bites. Now, tonight's show is a real big one. If you or anyone in your family or your circle of friends or even your community is affected with diabetes. Now, if you have friends or family who are affected, or perhaps you are looking into your own health, please save tonight's video, share it on your timeline so that other people can receive the information and so that you can come back to it and watch it again, because we have some incredible research and some details you need to know about when it comes to dealing with diabetes, the risks, and how you can personally improve your health. Now, it is estimated in New Zealand that over 250,000 people are currently living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And it is really interesting to know that some of it, in fact, a large portion of it, is preventable. Now, luckily tonight, I do have an expert on the couch. This is the clinical director of My Remedy. She's a naturopath and medical herbalist. This is Lynette Hill from My Remedy. Hi, Lynette.
Hi, Monique. Hi, everyone.
How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. It's a little bit warm in here tonight.
It is warm,
but I'm coping.
Excellent. Well, this is a big topic. I've personally lived in a pre-diabetic state myself and reversed my health. I lived with a father who actually died because of complications associated with diabetes. So it is one that is very close to my heart. First of all, the biggest question, and this is something that I never understood as a child, how do you catch diabetes?
You catch it in much the same way as you catch high cholesterol.
Wow.
So we don't catch diabetes. It's not a disease that we catch. It's something that, unless type 1 diabetes is something that we're born with, and it's an autoimmune condition. So that is, you know, I call it type 1. But type 2 is something that we generally create through our diet and lifestyle. So we create it through our eating habits, by becoming obese, by not maybe looking after our pancreas and our kidneys, with lack of water,
right?
All sorts of things, not exercising. It is generally something that we create.
And my understanding is that more people in New Zealand have type 2 diabetes.
Yes.
So this is something they've actually created themselves.
Yes, yeah. And I find that really sad, because the age is getting lower and lower and lower, and we're seeing children who are pre-diabetic. And have you heard of metabolic syndrome?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so they've got all that weight around the front, and you can see it when you're just walking down the street now. It's not just a beer belly anymore as children with that shape. So we've got a lot more risk for diabetes.
Okay, so who is at risk then? We're talking about risk. Who generally is at risk when it comes to this? Are we genetically predisposed to getting diabetes?
Yeah, certainly that's part of it. So you've got families, your father and yourself. So, you know, there is that genetic risk. When we're doing more and more with epigenetics now, where we're looking at genetic DNA sequencing, and basically people have got spelling mistakes. So if you've got, say, a spelling mistake on, you know, the genes involved in diabetes, then you're more at risk. It doesn't mean you're going to become diabetic, but it means you better be more careful, do your exercise, don't become obese. And I think we're going to find more and more that the genes involved with obesity are going to be very closely linked to diabetes as well, and maybe, you know, some of the ability to break down carbs and all of those things are probably very connected. And we're learning more every day. Every week we're going to, you know, more genetic kind of seminars telling us to look out for all this stuff. So genetically, absolutely. But often it's the nature-nurture thing. And if you're eating simple carbohydrates or lots of white sugar, white flour, white stuff. If you're eating too much, if you're not exercising.
Processed foods?
Oh, absolutely. Anything that makes it difficult for the body to utilise the sugars that are in the blood and has the time to digest them and uptake them. So, yeah, there's a group who are more at risk. But anyone is at risk due to lifestyle.
Wow. So, okay, so on that factor of risk, I know there's been several people in my family who have also gone through pregnancy and had gestational diabetes. How do you catch that?
Well, that is a hormonal problem. So your hormones and your pancreas are not getting on so well. So your body has become slightly insulin resistant.
Right.
It's really important. The baby will grow quite rapidly. So, you know, it's important that we find that out because there's risks to the baby and there's more risk to both the baby and the mother if it's not controlled through pregnancy that there might be diabetes later in life. So it's usually resolves itself pretty quickly, but those women need to be really careful. It's quite a toxic situation. So,
okay, so my understanding with diabetes is that there are a lot of people who are walking around with diabetes who perhaps don't even know that they're in the throes of it or they're pre-diabetic. What are the signs and symptoms people should be looking out for right now that they may be brushing off as just normal everyday life?
So I think we've got some slides coming up shortly to show that, but basically excessive urine, so you're weeing all the time. You're thinking, crikey. Along with that, you usually have your excessive thirst as well, and hunger. So you're just not keeping your energy or feeling full for long. So those sort of three things are something that we might go, oh, there could be something happening. If it's gone further, there could be unexplained weight loss, which seems ironic in a obese
I know
situation.
Most people celebrate that and go, yes, I've lost weight and I'm eating so much. This is amazing. I found the secret.
I'm eating and I'm weeing and I'm losing weight. So that's a bit of an issue. Also, one that is really important later is if you suddenly find that your wounds aren't healing, ulcers and, you know, maybe ulcers in the mouth that aren't healing, ulcers on the legs, not feeling things in our feet. That means it's actually advanced quite a long way. So a lot of people who are really not listening to their body can be way down the track to diabetes.
And have no idea?
Yeah, it's a wee bit of a silent one.
Wow, that's mind-blowing. Well, as you know, if you've watched some of our other episodes, we are not here to diagnose. In fact, we have to share this disclaimer with you up on the screen right now, just to show you that what we are actually here to do with the show is to, in fact, share some ideas, perhaps some alternatives. Just because you may have been given a diagnosis doesn't mean you have a cure. And that's what this show is all about. However, we can't prescribe, or should I say Lynette can't prescribe while we're on camera. And in fact, if you do want to take tonight's conversation further, feel free to join our Facebook group, which is also called Health Bites, or to get in contact with Lynette or your healthcare professional directly, because they actually need to see you to help you with your own way to optimal health. Okay, so we're getting there. This is a big one. This is a big one. Now remember too, if you're watching the show, please share this link, because diabetes is something, I've been personally affected by it. It can destroy your family, it can destroy communities. And unfortunately, with more than 250,000 people in New Zealand struggling with diabetes right now, and those numbers are on the rise, sadly, even with more education, you can still do something about it, and that's why we had to bring this topic to you all tonight. So let's talk about the different types of diabetes. So let's first of all look at the comparison. So my understanding is that diabetes is a lifelong disease that affects the way your body handles glucose. Lynette, could you just go into that conversation a little bit more, because my understanding of diabetes is still very small. Can you explain that slide that we're seeing there in front of us?
Sure. So there you can see it's actually blood vessel, and you can see type 1 diabetes has got glucose but no insulin in it. So these type 1, you simply don't produce insulin at the beta cells of the pancreas. So you have no hope of converting that sugar. Whereas you can see in type 2 diabetes, there is some insulin, but you're becoming resistant to it. So you're not using it to take that sugar from your food and convert it for energy. So your cells are starting to resist the sugars, and then it's building up and becoming toxic.
And in both instances, those are quite dangerous conditions. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, without glucose, that is life-threatening. So anyone who has type 1 diabetes is on insulin and often other medications as well. So it must be medically looked after. And controlled as well, because just because you're on insulin doesn't mean you can do what you like. You've got to still look after yourself.
Right. So what's the difference then between type 1 and type 2 and being pre-diabetic? Because my understanding, when I was obese and I could feel the changes in my body and my blood sugars, so I was pre-diabetic.
That's
but
right.
I don't really understand what that means. Does that mean I should have been on insulin, or?
No. Pre-diabetes is that stage where you're still making insulin. So type 1 diabetes, there's no insulin. You need to be given insulin, usually in an injection, and children often are on special ways of injecting it, but you need to be given it externally.
Right.
Type 2 diabetes is one we create. So you were pre-diabetic, which meant you were still making insulin, so you weren't needing injections yet. You weren't needing that yet, but you weren't making, first of all, you make too much. Your pancreas starts overworking.
Right.
And then it goes, oh, I give up. And that's when you start to see the insulin resistance, and you see all, that's when the weight's going on.
Yes.
And then you step into diabetes. And once you step in there, it's very, 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 very hard to go back to being pre-diabetic or not diabetic. So this is when you really need to do something about it. So my caution would be, if you are becoming overweight, get those blood tests done and make sure that you are not heading down the pre-diabetic track, because there's so much opportunity to turn things around as you did.
Absolutely, yes. For me, losing weight and actually transforming my diet into a low-carb diet has worked extremely well for me, and now I'm not getting the fluctuations in my blood sugar, which when my blood sugar was really low, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I'd have to actually get up and eat food because I'd be shaking and I'd have the cold shivers, and it is not a nice way to live. And I lived like that for 20 years. Which is feeding
the disease, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And you're often eating rubbish because you feel so bad about yourself.
Just terrible. It's a real vicious one, and that's why this topic for me is such a big one as well, having lived that experience personally. Now, we've got 2 slides. I'm not sure if they were brought up before. And it shows you a little bit deeper of the difference between type 1 and type 2.
Right.
So can we go on to the first slide, which is type 1 diabetes. So let's just talk into that one a little bit more.
Okay, so as you can see with type 1, the level of insulin is virtually nil. And it's an autoimmune induced condition, which means the body does it to itself. It attacks the beta cells of the pancreas. And that's really serious. Usually it takes a few years for, sometimes 2-year-olds will start seeing these conditions, but often it's not until puberty when the pancreas really runs out of juice. And that's requiring medical intervention.
Yes. And then if we take a look at type 2.
So type 2 is you've gone beyond health to pre-diabetes through your diet and lifestyle. This becomes a chronic or long-term metabolic disorder, and you're going to be having high blood sugars, insulin resistance, and you're going to start getting some of those symptoms that we talked about. So we've got polyphagia, that is super duper uber hunger.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. There'll be polydipsia, which is another word for excessive thirst. So you're starting to get really, really, really thirsty. And then you're going to get polyuria as well, which is lots of wheeze.
Lots of wheeze. And we are going to go a little bit deeper into some of those symptoms very shortly. But what I want to know is, all of that preventable?
I believe it is for type 2. Type 2 is very preventable. If it's created by our diet and lifestyle, then we need to look at our diet and lifestyle, particularly if your father or your mother or all of your uncles or all of your brothers and sisters have ended up with type 2 diabetes. You know that you've got the same genetic makeup. And you've had probably the same meals and the same lifestyle. So it's not really good enough to say, well, for example, I work in do some corporate wellness, and everyone's got diabetes, so it's normal. Well, yeah, I've got it, and I go on my medication.
Wow.
And so it's almost an expectation. Whereas for me, I look at that and go, well, crikey, if everyone's got it, why did they get it? And what am I going to do that I don't get it and my children don't get it?
And do you think it's because people don't think of the long-term effects of diabetes, the seriousness of this condition?
Yeah, it's not really advertised. You know, we have cigarette packets with eyeballs hanging out and really awful body parts. Diabetes is as damaging to the body. You know, you can lose your eyesight, you can have amputation. It's really important. And I think maybe if we knew that actually it's really serious, it can lead to renal failure. That
heart disease as well. There's a huge connection between diabetes and heart disease.
Yeah, so many. Like, it's seriously life-threatening when it's uncontrolled. So if I knew that that was in my family, I'd be really looking at my diet and lifestyle to make sure I was doing something about that. It's highly preventable.
Excellent, good to hear. Now, one of the philosophies behind Lynette's practice, My Remedy, and the show is based around a concept called the health ladder, I should say. So if you feel like your health might be getting out of control, just as an example, chances are your ladder might be a bit wobbly. But luckily, the video we're about to show you talks about how you can perhaps come back down that health ladder and plant your feet firmly back on the ground. So we're going to take a look at that video right now.
The Health Bites Health Ladder. Usually the goal of being on a ladder is to be at the top, but our ladder is different. It's much more comfortable, safe, and easier to remain with your feet planted safely on the ground. So we need to make sure everything at ground level is optimal. That's why, with a holistic model, getting your diet and lifestyle choices right are our foundation. Feet on the ground, being well through diet and lifestyle. Here are the basics: real food, proper nutrition, a healthy weight, good clean water, nutritional supplementation, condensed nutrients, if needed, particularly for children, teenagers, athletes, elderly, exercise, fun and friendship, great sleep, well-managed stress. You might need some initial help to achieve this level of health, but once you're there, it's worth it, and it's easier to stay healthy than live with disease. First step of the ladder, self-help. You might be starting to notice symptoms such as bloating, headaches, skin changes, signs of stress, sleep, energy, or hormonal changes. You may start researching your options, online as well as in store. You might visit your health store for some condensed nutrients, vitamins, probiotics, or superfoods. It might be time for some relaxing massage or Reiki therapy to help with relaxation and stress reduction. Second step, noticing changes in symptoms. It's time to ask for help from someone who knows how to help get you back on track. You could visit a life or health coach. A clinical hypnotherapist may help with sleep or harmful habits. Maybe your stress is coming from your work or finances. Career coach, financial advisor. So, what if you've given it a go? You've been to the store, the internet, you've tried some basics, vitamins, dietary changes, etc., but there's not enough change. Your symptoms remain. This means they're chronic. Third step, living with symptoms. It's time for therapeutic support. Time to see the health experts who are trained to make therapeutic changes to help you make positive changes, and those who can refer you for specific medical care should it be needed. Maybe a naturopath to guide and support a return to better health. A physical therapist like a chiropractor or osteopath to help with pain or better function. A counselor to give you tools in your kit to deal with your stress in a healthy and positive way. The list goes on. Light bulb moment. Maybe this is a good place to start. Registered naturopath or medical herbalist. Registered homeopath, chiropractor or osteopath. Ayurvedic or Chinese medicine practitioner. Nutritionist, counselor or psychotherapist. By working with an expert at this level, there is every opportunity that you can return to optimal health and wellness with your feet planted firmly on the ground, safe and healthy. Fourth step, diagnose disease. Follow the advice of your healthcare professional and wellness support team. Up here is where you don't want to be, at the top, feeling very wobbly and clinging on tightly. It's the toughest place to be on the ladder. You need medical intervention, medical specialist, emergency medical treatment, If you are here, you already have a medical diagnosis that may require medication or even surgery. You need to follow all medical advice now. We want you, through natural medicine, to avoid getting to this stage, support you while you're there, and support you to feel better despite your condition. So if you want to stay planted on the ground in good health or make your way down the ladder, why not consider seeing a natural medicine practitioner?
Well, welcome back to tonight's live discussion. I'm Monique Bradley here at the YourFixTV studio, and I'm on the couch with naturopath and medical herbalist. This is Lynette Hill from My Remedy. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's a big topic tonight. It's diabetes. If you don't know much about it, but you've heard the name, perhaps you don't know that 250,000 people in New Zealand are living with diabetes, which in many cases is actually preventable. Who knew? That's what tonight's conversation is all about. Now, my story, apart from the fact that I lived pre-diabetic for probably 15 years, I also had a father who suffered with diabetes, and I saw the effects personally of what diabetes can actually do. My father, pretty sad story. He went blind when I was 18 months old because of diabetes. He had what's called a retinal occlusion, so he lost his sight. That really affected our family and the capacity for our family to earn money. So we were actually pushed into a state of basically living in borderline poverty. He was the sole income earner in our family. He became an invalid, and my mother became his full-time caregiver. It was really hard. And you know, to be absolutely honest, and that's why I'm so passionate about this topic. As he got older, he then had other complications come into play. He lost the feeling in his feet. He ended up with complications there, ended up in a semi-gangrenous state on a part of his foot. They were looking at amputating part of his foot at one stage. He ended up with renal failure, and sadly, when I was just 18 years old, we lost him. And that was all associated with complications to do with diabetes. You can do something about your health right now. Don't put your family through this. Do something for you right now. And I can't stress this highly enough. Get yourself tested. If you are tired all the time, if you have excessive thirst, if you are urinating a lot, if you're feeling the effects of eating sugary food and you're getting that carbo coma, go and get yourself tested, because this just doesn't affect you. This affects everybody in your family, your friends, and your community. And I can't begin to tell you how important that is. Now, my understanding, Lynette, is this is more common than we're thinking as well, and it is preventable.
It's very preventable. I've had a couple of sad situations in clinic where people have come in and said, you know, I'm pre-diabetic, and I'm like, great, you're pre-diabetic. What are we going to do about it?
Right.
And they're like, no, I can go on medication soon. And that will control it. So
they've caught diabetes, they think, and it's okay because the medicine will fix it.
Absolutely. And they've been told, and whether they've been told or whether they've selectively heard, they know to eat less sugar, but there's not a lot of understanding that, you know, if you're going to eat a loaf of white bread, you're eating a cup of sugar.
That's right.
You know, there's still a lack of education around where are these sugars and what does our body do with sugar and what created this. So, you know, some people just are amazing. They just hit the vegetables and they hit the water and they get moving and they lose weight and they do stuff. And they turn the situation around, whereas other people are waiting for pre-diabetes to go click. It's diabetic, I got some medicine for that. But once you're there, it's for the rest of your life, and you still need to control it. A non-controlled diabetic has got, as your father sadly showed us, you know, infections which they're not feeling, and
open
blindness
wounds that don't heal.
Oh, it's a terrible thing. So, you know, I think it is so exciting that go to your doctor and get some blood tests done, see what your cholesterol's doing, because that's an indication of digestion.
Right.
And have a look at what's happening with your blood sugar levels. There's a test, the HbA1c, which every doctor will do. I hope.
Yes.
Yay! If not, your naturopath will certainly get that sorted for you. And that looks at the amount of sugar that is surrounding your cells over a 3-month period. So you can't trick that test. And it's really good to know, you know, as that's rising, you need to start doing something now.
Absolutely. Now, this is becoming such a big epidemic here in New Zealand. I do call it an epidemic, but it's an epidemic that we're creating. And if you've been watching any of the documentary that Simon Gold, who I have worked with quite extensively, he's completely and radically changed his health. I remember working at the food show with him a couple of years ago where Simon had come back to the food show, he'd lost a whole lot of weight. And I walked up to him and I said, Simon, what have you actually done? He said, well, I went to the doctors, I had extremely high, like borderline terrible cholesterol. I was pre-diabetic. In fact, I had type 2, and and all I could do was think about the food I was eating, what exercise am I doing, and do some research about what I could eat to make changes without having to go through medication, which I thought was fantastic. And that's what he's done.
Yeah, good for him. And look at the results.
Amazing. He looks fantastic. His blood pressure's normalised, and all he did was change his diet and change how much he moved. And now he's doing things like producing stuff for people who might be sugar sensitive, like his tomato sauce, which is sweetened with stevia. Is this becoming the trend, or are you hoping it will become the trend where people will become more conscious about what they're ingesting?
There's 2 trends I hope will happen. One is that people will look at what they're eating in the first place and go, actually, eating good healthy food, fruit and veggies, drinking lots of water and exercising is a good option for my family. So let's start with that. And then the second thing I hope happens is that people, you know, like Simon Gould, are going to take a look at their health and go, oh crikey, and do something about it, you know. And what a phenomenal outcome.
Oh, just he's mind-blowing. I'm really impressed with his commitment. And one of his driving reasons for doing it was he had a little daughter.
Of course. And, you know, when you have a family, you have more to live for. And he's not just changing his life and his health, she's going to benefit from that. She shouldn't have those same issues to deal with later because her diet will change as a result.
Absolutely.
I hope.
I've been watching what he's been putting in his daughter's lunchbox, actually. It's really good, healthy choices.
That is so neat.
So really cool. So congratulations, Simon. And if anybody watching out there is concerned perhaps about their own health, remember, please talk to your GP, talk to your healthcare professional. And if you are based in Auckland, or even if you want to do a Skype consultation, you can talk to the people at My Remedy because they are experts in dealing with health conditions, and hopefully, as you saw from that health leader, help you walk back down that ladder so your feet are firmly planted on the floor. Now, when it comes to your clinic, my understanding is that you have a wealth of knowledge from all your practitioners, and each looks after a particular area. Is that right?
That's right, we do. We've all got our favourite topics, things that we're most interested in. And I wouldn't say anyone is actually specialising in diabetes, but it's just so prevalent. We're all becoming specialists.
Oh, wow. Sad to say, but congratulations that you have people there who can help you with it.
Yeah, great team.
So we're going to take a look at a video, just a very short video, to show you behind the scenes and introduce you to the team at My Remedy, because these people truly are amazing. Let's take a look right now. Have you ever considered that symptoms are often the outward sign of something deeper and can just be the body's way of saying, help me? The great news is that even small changes from the inside out can affect your whole health outcome. So, are you ready to make positive changes? The team at My Remedy work with you to find solutions for optimal health and can help you with many health challenges. Their team of qualified and registered naturopaths are there to help with any health condition: gut health, skin conditions, adrenal fatigue and immune health, cardiovascular and men's health, and nutritional health. At My Remedy, they also have a registered homeopath and hypnotherapist who are there to help with the deepest challenges to your health, your beliefs, your fears, your habits and behaviours. So if you're ready to create better health for you and your family, try a different approach. Visit myremedy.co.nz or give them a call on 09486 2175. My Remedy. It's your remedy. Well, welcome back to the Health Bites show here at the YourFixTV studio. I'm Monique Bradley and I'm here with Lynette Hill from My Remedy. Thanks for being here tonight, Lynette.
Pleasure.
Great to have you here. Some comments that have come through in the feed. Firstly, Romina Macedraleli, hola, ¿cómo estás? Has just said, thank you all for this helpful information. You are so welcome. That's what Health Bites is about. If you've got friends or family who perhaps are affected by diabetes or you're concerned for their health, Romina, please share the show because we really want to share the love and try and educate more people. Debbie Curtis has just said, hi guys, it's of interest to me as my dad has just had to go on the injections for diabetes.
Okay.
Wow. So is that type 2 diabetes that he has, Debbie?
It will be.
Yeah.
It will be. And, you know, Debbie, that's tough that he's doing that, but thank goodness because that now takes care of him. But I really hope maybe he can watch our show, either the rerun of tonight or definitely next week, where we're going to talk more into managing it. Because once you have the injection, you've still got to take great care of yourself and manage things quite carefully. And there's some things to look out for, particularly around, you know, your feet and your eyesight and things like that.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And Romina's just said, the more you talk about this, the more we become aware. Well, that's really the whole
point
idea of doing the show. So thank you, Romina. And please, like I said, share, because we really want to make a difference. And particularly when you understand that here in New Zealand, there's more than 250,000 people living with diabetes. That's a huge amount of people, and for a large proportion of that, it's type 2 diabetes. Yeah. Type 2 is can be preventable.
And there is an issue around society of who is more prevalent and who isn't, and it does come down to education around eating well. I will try and get Amy on the show next week to show us some really budget friendly ideas, you know, how we can eat really well and have nice stable blood sugars. That, you know, good eating doesn't have to be really expensive. No. You know, water is a lot less expensive than Coca-Cola.
So
I don't care what you say, we've got in the tap. So there are ways around it. And the most important thing is to plan to be healthy.
I totally agree. I've personally have completely transformed my pantry and my fridge over the last few months because I was tired of waking up in the middle of the night with low blood sugar, or I was tired of feeling those symptoms that my blood sugars were out of control because I was pre-diabetic. And the result has been, you know, I sleep better now, I have more energy, I feel better, stable blood sugars for the first time in more than 15 years. And
you look great.
Oh, thank you. And I've lost weight, so I can't complain about that. But not lost weight in a bad way, lost weight in a really good way with
without even trying.
Blood sugars. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's been good.
Okay, so we are going to delve a little bit deeper into the signs and symptoms. So if you're concerned about your health, if any of this resonates with you, please consult your healthcare professional. Having been through with my own family the experience of living with diabetes, this can get very serious, and I don't want anybody to go through what my family has endured. So please look out for yourself and consider talking to your healthcare professional if any of what we're about to discuss resonates with you. Lynette, let's delve into the symptoms right now, and I believe we've got a screen coming up to show you as well.
Okay, so we already talked about polyphagia, which is your hunger. So all of a sudden you're looking for energy all the time in your food, and unfortunately it's normally simple foods which worsen the problem. And that increased or excessive thirst, that's a very common symptom. Please, if you've got little children, particularly who aren't speaking well, if they are showing these symptoms, get straight to your doctor and just make sure, probably just through some urine and a simple wee blood test, that they're not in this condition, because it's really, the sooner you get onto it, the better. You've got the polyuria, which is the excessive amount of urine, and the frequency. You just go, am I going wheeze again? Am I going again? And so they all sort of, those three things together are a really good indication. Again, being pre-diabetic, the weight's going up, but all of a sudden it comes down, and you've still got those other three conditions going on. Fatigue, like you say, with those blood sugars that you experienced, and the non-healing wounds. That is very important. Like that leads to disease very, very, very quickly.
Absolutely. And my understanding too is that, you know, those non-healing wounds, you know, those sores that don't quite heal up, those ulcers on your legs, even ulcers in your mouth that just won't go away. This is your body. This is what Lynette said earlier in the show. This is your body giving you some really valuable signs that it's not feeling great, that you're going further up that health ladder and your ladder's getting a bit wobbly. But you can reverse that, or we understand that you can through both natural medicine and by talking to your healthcare professional, by changing your diet, your lifestyle. You can do something about it. But the control is in your hands.
Yeah, you have to do something about it. Yeah.
Now, a couple more comments have just come through as well. Abby Leaf has just said, hey guys, great show. I just wanted to ask, if you have gestational diabetes, are you at higher risk to have normal diabetes later in life? Thanks, ladies.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of research to say that that is a risk. It doesn't mean you will, but you know, you've already had that hit to your pancreas and you've got that memory. So there seems to be quite a high correlation that either the child or the mother is at higher risk of type 2 diabetes.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And Debbie Curtis just came back with regards to her dad. She said, yes, he has the restless legs. I remember that from my father's condition as well. And he has gout in the feet on and off, which my father also had.
Yeah. Now, gout's just showing you that those kidneys are really starting to hurt. So even at the very least, you know, follow the rules for gout around proteins, and your doctor, his doctor should have given him a list. And if he hasn't, you give me a ring. And get in touch with us, because there's some really simple things that will make his life a lot easier. Looking after your kidneys. What's the best thing you can do to look after your kidneys?
Drink water, right?
Right, yeah, that's right. Keep the water up, because your kidneys then don't need to find fluids. And gout is they call it an exquisitely painful disorder. It is terrible. Very, very painful.
Yes, I've had several family members with gout.
Yeah.
My father, who was also for a part of the time in his life a naturopath, he actually used to eat cherries to help with getting rid of gout. Apparently that helps really well. But, you know, if you say are pre-diabetic or you do have diabetes, you can't have a lot of cherries because they can be too high in sugars as well. So it's really about finding what works for you. For a lot of people who do have type 2 diabetes, they're trying low-carb lifestyles like I've tried, and that's working for them really well.
It makes it very easy to manage doing a low-carb, low-sugar diet. It's obvious. It's an obvious choice to do that.
Now, one of the comments that came in previously with lovely Gina, who watches this show quite regularly, who does have type 2 diabetes, one of the questions she actually asked was, why do I continue to get the cold shivers? She has gone low carb, and I know this is a big one, and this is something that I can actually talk into because this is something I really struggled with. My understanding is it's actually to do with the fluctuation in my blood sugars. Does that kind of resonate with you, Lynette?
Well, if your sugars have gone low, your energy's gone low, so your body's probably trying to find some way of, you know, ramping up again. And, you know, it's an endocrine disorder. So you've got all of your other endocrine glands trying to work out, you know, does my liver need to do something?
Yeah, what's my metabolism doing?
Yeah, because your liver can actually provide a little bit of insulin as well.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, or is it that actually my thyroid needs to get on board now because I need some energy and nothing else is working? So there are all sorts of, it's a multi-system disease.
Yes, it's like beautiful choreography going on in your body.
Yes.
So if you've got something that's not quite dancing properly, somebody in the front row, it puts off all the other dancers.
Yeah, it does. It's like, what is that, the butterfly effect?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, or the domino effect. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not so pretty.
Not so pretty at all. So I hope that's answering some of your questions. And remember, you can keep asking those questions, particularly in our Facebook group, which you can find on by searching in the Facebook toolbar, just under Health Bites. Feel free, if you don't feel comfortable asking questions while we're live, to shoot your questions into the group, because there are other health practitioners in that group that you can connect with and ask those questions directly. And as always, if you are concerned, do seek the support and help from your healthcare professional. So I want to talk about some of the other risks or some of the consequences, in fact, involved with diabetes, heart disease, stroke, diabetic retinopathy. What is that?
Well, that's when your kidneys are becoming part of the disease. And that's all of those three things are a really huge topic, and I think we're going to cover those next week.
Great.
But we are talking about bits falling off, we're talking about renal failure, we're talking about serious things, we're talking about possible risk for stroke, for amputation. I mean, we're not talking about, I don't know, headaches in the morning.
We're talking about right up the top of the health ladder.
Yeah, and it's so important, and we really want, after this week, for people to get out there and say, let's get people finding out next week about what's going on and what we can do. And we're going to be providing some really good options, that you can do on the first stage of the ladder, so maybe some of the things that you could do yourself,
yes,
but also when to see, well, I would say if you've got any of these symptoms, early symptoms, go and see a naturopath right now. Yeah,
definitely.
And we'll probably organise blood tests straight away. But, start doing something about it, start thinking about it.
Absolutely. Having witnessed the effects of diabetes personally, seeing my father in a condition where he had full body edema, basically the water, because his kidneys weren't functioning properly anymore.
Shut down.
Water backed up to about here. They had to insert a catheter into the side
to take the fluids
the
away.
fluid out.
It's terrible.
It is pretty horrific, to be fair, and I don't think in New Zealand we see diabetes as serious, say, as cancer or as some of the other health conditions that get a lot of airtime. But seriously, we need to do something about this. It is growing as an epidemic, and because a huge proportion of the people suffering from it, it's something that they've created through their diet and lifestyle, which means they can remove it with diet and lifestyle as well.
That's right. It's quite exciting.
Yeah, it is really exciting topic. Right, now, if you are based here in Auckland, you can either come and see the people at My Remedy, or one of the clinics that Lynette actually oversees is a clinic called the Power Clinic. Now, you'll notice here on our screen, there's some information there about My Remedy, but we also are very well supported by the wonderful team at South Pacific College of Natural Medicine here in Auckland, and they have a practicing clinic on site for their almost graduating students, which you're one of the overseers,
supervisors.
The supervisors.
Yeah. They've got 1 month to go. These guys are rocking and rolling. They're doing so well.
That means the general public can come in and actually have a consultation with almost graduating students, and that means they get that at a really good price as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's highly discounted. I know that certainly very young, so under 6, and also our retirees are free.
Wow.
There's all sorts of compensations for people, and the team are virtually fully qualified now, and the supervision that comes from us is becoming less and less. These guys are able to look at your health history and what you're doing and make really valid suggestions to really change your health in the long term. And for something like diabetes, they have a full dispensary there.
Wow,
so they're
that's
able
fantastic.
to really work with the nutrients and the herbs and the suggestions that are going to take you from that wobbly cling to the ladder right down to actually be able to make changes. Plus, they can give amazing advice to someone who might already be diabetic. How can we manage this better and get you living an exceptional life in spite of it? So, these guys are great. Please support them, but also look after yourselves and have a really good experience at the Power Clinic.
I love it. Now, we're going to show you a little bit behind the scenes and show you exactly what Power Clinic does, and the contact details will be shown on screen. So if you maybe are struggling with your budget a little bit and you want a cost-effective option, this could be the option for you. Let's take a look at that video right now.
Welcome to Power Clinic. I'm Robin Carruthers, the Clinic Director. The Power Clinic is a student clinic at the South Pacific College of Natural Medicine. We've got two main functions here. One is to give our students a really good educational experience. They're the ones who staff the clinic, and they are supervised by experienced practitioners, naturopaths and medical herbalists. Our other role, which is more important, is to provide the community with affordable natural health care. So we have free visits for under 6-year-old children and for people over 65, and our other adult normal fees are heavily subsidised. We see a whole range of people here at Power Clinic, people who've got just minor health complaints, who want to look at a wellness plan, right through to people who are on a range of medications and have quite serious health conditions. A lot of people think with natural health care that if you're taking medications, you can't go to a naturopath. But in fact, we're very careful to take that into account and to work around it and support people while they are taking medications that they need to take. So if this sounds like it might be of interest to you, please give us a call and we'll look forward to seeing you and to helping you on your health journey.
Well, there you go. That is a little bit about the Power Clinic out there at South Pacific College of Natural Medicine. Now they're based out in Green Lane, is that right?
Ellerslie. Arthur Street and Ellerslie, yeah.
Excellent. And they have parking on site.
Plenty of parking.
And you can go in and you can even have a look around their amazing gardens, which are truly incredible. You walk around and you can eat everything, and it's all medicinal as well. We love that.
They're not weeds.
They're not weeds at all. They're all there to serve your health.
Yeah.
Well, if you do want to check them out, we'll show the details on the screen once more so that you can have a look. Hopefully we've got that screen there. So you can have a look at how to get in touch with them. Of course, you can go to their website. You can Google South Pacific College of Natural Medicine. And in fact, that's probably going to be the best way that you can find them. And you can also find them on Facebook. So a big shout out to them because we are streaming out through their channel tonight as well. Well, it is almost time to go. Oh, there we go. South Pacific College of Natural Medicine, spcnm.ac.nz. And if you are considering perhaps a career in the future in natural medicine, they would welcome you with open arms because, like us, more love, more healing. That's what I say.
Absolutely.
Well, we have had a big show tonight. Remember, you can get in touch with the people at My Remedy as well as the people there at South Pacific College of Natural Medicine and Power Clinic. And as always, we love you being part of the show. So please share tonight's show because this is a big topic. We are here to help you find your way back to optimal health, and we want to get rid of horrible diabetes because it does affect not just the person's life, the person who has it life, like me, the daughter of somebody who unfortunately had health complications that took his life because of diabetes. Don't put your family and friends through that.
And thank you for sharing, Monique, because I think both Monique and I didn't realise when we were preparing the show what an impact diabetes had had on Monique, and that it actually meant she didn't have her father to grow up with. So thank you. That's
You're welcome.
Really
thank you.
Powerful tonight.
Thank you. So do something for your health. Please look after yourself, look after your family. Here's something that I forgot to talk about earlier. For those of you who might be feeling the effects of pre-diabetes or type 2.
This is actually into type or with pre-diabetes, yeah.
Fantastic. This is an incredible tea. It's can you tell us a little bit more about that?
For sure. It's a tea that's been designed with some bitters like Glamordica and some other really special herbs which I can't go into because I can see Pete in the background. But it's there to support the pancreas. It's there to help our body cope with those sugar fluctuations. And if there's any life left in the pancreas, stimulate those beta cells to help us absorb some of those sugars from our blood. So it's a really nice, safe thing to do if you think you might be in that pre-diabetic state or if you're struggling to manage your diabetes.
So where can people find a product like that?
That one definitely you're going to find in clinics, so because it is actually a naturopathic therapeutic dose, but also I'm pretty sure the Purity website is one that you can go straight to. I'm also pretty certain that there are other teas out there as well. I know Artemis do some really beautiful teas, and a lot of health shops have those. So get out and have a wee look maybe this week and just see what's out there and maybe try some of these things to give you a little bit more support.
So next week we'll delve further into the topic of diabetes. We will be looking at some of the risks involved if you've got diabetes and it's not under control. We will look at the effects on your health because of diabetes, and we're going to talk more about the steps you can take to reverse the effects and transform your life to help you get down those rungs of that ladder and plant your feet back on the ground and find your way back to optimal health. So if that sounds of interest to you, lock it into your diary. Next Monday, 7 p.m. Lynette and I will be here. We've got Amy on board next week, is that right?
I hope so.
I hope so. And Amy is, she's a naturopath and a medical herbalist as well. Yes. She's also one of the people who set up the first raw food cafes here in Auckland. So she is all about nutrition and using, let food be thy medicine. That's what Hippocrates said, right?
Yeah, and she's phenomenal.
Fantastic. So if you want to find out more how you can eat well and live well on a really good budget as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You need to join us next week. Now remember, please share tonight's show with everybody that you can. We want to grow the show and help spread the message of finding your own solutions with your health, because not everything you hear out there, including Dr. Google, is correct. So it's time to talk to the experts. That's what Health Bites is all about. Lynette, thank you so much for joining me tonight and for delving into this sensitive topic in my own life. I really appreciate that. And I have to thank you all for watching. A big thanks to Pete, who's behind the scenes tonight producing our show. And remember, please, keep asking questions and always, always talk to a healthcare professional. Time for us to go. Thanks, and we'll see you next week at 7 p.m. Ka kite anō.